You have been taught a lie. The greatest lie ever told. That the goal of a good life is to be comfortable. To be safe. To avoid pain. This pursuit of comfort is the very thing keeping you weak. It is a cage you have built for yourself. Pain, hardship, and struggle are not signals to stop. They are signals that the transformation is beginning. This audiobook is your manual to reforge your mind. You will learn to stop running from pain and start using it as fuel. The training begins now. Chapter 1: The Poison of a Comfortable Life. You have been poisoned. It is a slow-acting poison, and you have been consuming it willingly your entire life. It is not a chemical. It is not a substance. It is an idea. And the idea is this, that a good life is a comfortable life. This is the great lie of the modern world. And your belief in this lie is the invisible cage that has kept you weak, fragile, and stagnant. Your obsession with feeling safe, with avoiding pain, with seeking the path of least resistance, is the single greatest obstacle to you becoming the person you were meant to be. The world you live in is an architect of this cage. It is a perfectly engineered environment designed to sedate you. Climate-controlled homes to protect you from the weather. Instant food delivery to protect you from hunger. Endless streaming entertainment to protect you from a single moment of boredom. Every innovation, every convenience, has one goal: to remove all friction, all struggle, all discomfort from your life. This has not made you stronger. It has made you weaker. You are suffering from a disease of the soul. A psychological atrophy. Your resilience, your grit, your mental toughness, these are muscles. And for your entire life, these muscles have been wasting away from a chronic lack of use. You have been sold a fantasy, that a life without hardship is a life of happiness. The truth is that a life without hardship is a life without growth. It's not about being lazy, it's about being sedated. You have been lulled into a comfortable sleep, and you are dreaming of a life you will never have, because you are unwilling to wake up and face the discomfort required to build it. Let us observe this truth on the training ground. Let us watch two athletes, both with the same level of natural talent. The first is the comfortable athlete. He loves his sport, but only when it feels good. He trains when the weather is a perfect 70 degrees. He trains when he is feeling motivated and strong. The moment it gets too hot, too cold, or the moment his muscles begin to ache with real fatigue, he takes the day off. He tells himself that recovery is important. He listens to the voice that whispers, "Don't push too hard. Be comfortable." Now, let us watch the second athlete. The champion. She has a different relationship with discomfort. She sees the pouring rain not as an excuse to go home, but as a rare opportunity to build a level of mental toughness her competitors will never have. She sees her aching muscles not as a signal to stop, but as the feedback that tells her she is growing stronger. She hears that same voice whispering for comfort, and she deliberately, consciously, and ruthlessly does the opposite. She leans into the pain. What is the result? The comfortable athlete is fragile. His performance is entirely dependent on perfect conditions. In the heat of a real competition, when things get difficult, he breaks. He remains good, but he never becomes great. The champion is different. She is not just resilient. She is antifragile. She is not just able to perform in the storm, she is stronger because she has trained in it. She has made discomfort her home. And so, she is unbreakable. That's the key. Her greatness was not found in her talent. It was forged in the moments of hardship she willingly embraced. Comfort is not a sanctuary. It is a cage. There is a fundamental law of biology that you must now apply to your entire life. It is the law of progressive overload. A muscle will not grow unless it is subjected to a stress that is greater than what it is accustomed to. To get stronger, you must lift heavier weight. The stress is what forces the adaptation. This law governs everything. Your courage will not grow unless you subject it to the stress of fear. Your discipline will not grow unless you subject it to the stress of temptation. Your character will not grow unless it is subjected to the stress of hardship. If you are not actively seeking and confronting discomfort, you are not growing. You are atrophying. You are slowly dying. You have a choice. You can remain in the comfortable, climate-controlled cage you have mistaken for a life, where your potential will wither and die. Or you can make the deliberate choice to step into the storm, to seek the heavier weight, to embrace the necessary struggle that will force you to become stronger. You don't need their permission to choose a harder, more meaningful path. Comfort is not a sanctuary. It is a cage. This is the first and most critical truth you must accept. You must stop seeing comfort as the goal. You must begin to see it as a seductive poison. You must become suspicious of an easy life. You must start to understand that the moments of greatest discomfort are the moments of greatest opportunity. But to truly break free from this cage, it is not enough to simply accept the reality of hardship. You must go deeper. You must find the part of your own mind that uses pain as an excuse. The part that blames the world for its problems and, in doing so, gives away all of its power. Before you can harness the storm, you must first destroy the victim within. That is your next mission. In Chapter 2, Destroy the Victim in Your Own Mind. Chapter 2, Destroy the Victim in Your Own Mind. You have recognized the poison. You see the cage of comfort for what it is. You have accepted that the path to strength is paved with discomfort. But this acceptance is meaningless if there is a traitor within your own mind, a voice that is constantly working to drag you back into that cage. That traitor is the victim. It is the quiet, seductive voice that whispers, "It's not your fault." It is the part of you that points the finger at your circumstances, your past, your boss, the economy, anything and everything to avoid the brutal, empowering weight of responsibility. This voice presents itself as a comforter, a defender of your fragile ego. But it is a liar. And its poison is the single greatest obstacle to your growth. Before you can harness hardship, you must first find and systematically destroy the victim in your own mind. The psychology of victimhood is a seductive trap. When you blame an external force for your failure, you receive a small, fleeting reward. You get to be the righteous one. You get the sympathy of others. Most importantly, you are absolved of the difficult work of self-reflection. But this short-term comfort comes at a catastrophic price. You surrender all of your power. The moment you decide that something is not your fault, you are also deciding that it is not within your power to change. You become a passive object, a piece of driftwood in the ocean of life, tossed about by waves you have no control over. It's not about being blameless, it's about being powerful. The victim seeks to be blameless. The warrior seeks to be in control. You have a choice of which one you want to be. Let us observe this choice in a real-world scenario. The missed promotion. An employee works hard. They believe they are the best candidate for a promotion. The announcement is made, and someone else gets the job. The hardship is real. The disappointment is real. At this moment, a fork in the road appears. The victim goes down the first path. Their internal monologue is immediate and self-soothing. "I can't believe it. After everything I've done. My boss has always had it in for me. It's just office politics. The whole system is rigged against people like me." They go home and complain to their friends and family, who all agree that it is an injustice. They are filled with a sense of righteous indignation. And what happens next? Nothing. They change nothing. They learn nothing. They improve nothing. Because in the story they have told themselves, the problem is out there, in the world. So they are powerless. Now, let us watch the practitioner, the architect, walk down the second path. They feel the exact same initial sting of disappointment. They allow themselves to feel it for a moment. But they do not allow it to fester into the poison of blame. Instead, they take out a blank sheet of paper. And they perform a brutal, emotionless self-assessment. An autopsy of their own failure. They ask the hard questions. Leaving my ego at the door, where was my performance genuinely weak this quarter? What specific, measurable skill does the person who got the job have, that I currently lack? What is the objective, undeniable feedback the world is giving me right now? How can I use this painful data to make my promotion an absolute certainty next year? Do you see the difference? The victim has chosen to be powerless. They have located the problem outside of their control. The architect has chosen to be powerful. They have relentlessly searched for the piece of the problem that is within their control. The victim is waiting for the world to become fair. The architect is busy becoming so good that the world's fairness is irrelevant. That's the key. You must now adopt this mindset as a non-negotiable doctrine. The doctrine of absolute ownership. From this moment forward, you are 100% responsible for your life. All of it. The good, the bad, the unfair. If another person wrongs you, their action is their responsibility. Your response is yours. If the economy is difficult, that is a circumstance. Your strategy within that economy is your responsibility. It's not about finding fault. It is about finding the lever of control. You have a choice. In every moment of setback, you can be the author of your excuses, or you can be the architect of your response. You cannot be both. You don't need their permission to stop blaming the world and take control of your own life. You are not a victim of your life. You are the architect of your response. Let this be the new code that you burn into your mind. When hardship strikes, your first, automatic, trained question will no longer be, "Whose fault is this?" It will be, what is my move? The victim dies the moment you take absolute ownership. This is the second great pillar of a strong mind. You have rejected the cage of comfort, and now you have destroyed the victim within. You are no longer running from discomfort, and you are no longer blaming the world for its existence. You are now ready. You are ready to see hardship not as a punishment to be endured, but as an opportunity to be seized. You are ready to learn the great secret that the strong have always known. That is our work in the next chapter. Chapter 3, The Obstacle is the Path. Chapter 3, The Obstacle is the Path. You have begun the hard work. You have turned your back on the poison of comfort. You have found and destroyed the victim in your mind. You no longer run from discomfort, and you no longer blame the world for its existence. You are now standing at the gateway to a new philosophy. You are ready to learn the most profound and powerful secret of the resilient mind. A secret the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago, and that every great warrior, leader, and builder has understood ever since. The secret is this: the thing you believe is in your way, is the way. The problem you are desperately trying to avoid is the very thing you must go through. The obstacle is the path. This is a fundamental reordering of your reality. Your entire life, you have operated under a flawed assumption. You have viewed your goal as a destination, and your life as a straight line from where you are to where you want to be. You have seen every problem, every delay, every difficult person, every setback as an inconvenient and unfair deviation from that straight line. You have wasted all of your energy trying to find a way around the obstacles. This is why you have failed. You were searching for a clear path. A clear path to greatness does not exist. The path is the friction. The path is the struggle. The path is the series of obstacles that you must overcome. It's not about finding an easy road. It's about becoming the kind of person who is strong enough to walk the difficult one. Let us watch this principle in action. Let us go into the heart of a crisis. A startup company is 1 week away from the launch of its first major product. They have invested everything. Years of work, all of their money. Suddenly, a catastrophic bug is discovered in the core code. It is not a small problem. It is a potential company killer that could corrupt all of their user data. The untrained mind, the mind of the victim, immediately panics. This is a disaster. It is an unfair, cruel twist of fate. They see the bug as a giant wall that has appeared in front of the finish line. Their internal monologue is one of blame and despair. This is ruining everything. Why is this happening to us, right now? The team is demoralized. The project is on the verge of collapse. Now, let us watch a leader who understands that the obstacle is the path. They feel the same initial shock, the same jolt of fear. But their training kicks in. They gather their team. And they perform the reframe. Their voice is calm and firm. They say, "This is not a disaster. This is a gift. The market has just given us a free, brutal, and invaluable stress test before our launch. This bug has revealed a fundamental weakness in our foundation, a weakness that would have destroyed us 6 months from now with 1 million users. Finding it today is an opportunity. An opportunity to build something truly unbreakable. An opportunity to innovate a solution no one has thought of. An opportunity to forge ourselves into a team that can solve impossible problems under pressure. This is not our roadblock. This is our path to becoming a great company." Do you see the shift? The external circumstance did not change. The bug is still there. But the meaning of the circumstance has been completely transformed. A demoralizing disaster has become an energizing and unifying mission. The obstacle was not in the way of the launch. The obstacle became the path to a better launch, a better product, and a better team. That's the key. This principle applies to every aspect of your life. The obstacles you face are not random punishments. They are a personalized curriculum, perfectly designed to teach you the exact virtues you currently lack. The difficult person you have to deal with at work is not an annoyance. They are a perfectly designed training partner to help you develop your patience, your empathy, and your emotional control. A sudden financial setback is not the end of the world. It is a perfectly designed lesson in creativity, resourcefulness, and the difference between what you want and what you truly need. A physical injury is not a curse. It is a perfectly designed opportunity to practice humility, to learn to ask for help, and to focus your efforts on the things you can control, rather than the things you cannot. You must stop asking the victim's question, "Why is this happening to me?" And you must start asking the warrior's question, "What is this trying to teach me?" You have a choice. You can see your problems as a burden, or you can see them as a curriculum. You can see the world as a hostile place that is constantly putting obstacles in your way, Or you can see it as a training ground that is constantly providing you with opportunities to get stronger. You don't need their permission to change your perspective. The obstacle is not the enemy. It is the curriculum. This intellectual understanding is the first, crucial step. You now see the path. You see that your problems are your opportunities in disguise. But to truly walk this path, it is not enough to simply understand it. You must change your fundamental, emotional response to the pain and friction that these obstacles create. You must go beyond a mental reframe. You must learn not just to accept hardship, but to welcome it as an old and trusted friend. That is the next stage of your training. That is our mission in Chapter 4, Welcome the Pain, Your New Invitation. Chapter 4, Welcome the Pain, Your New Invitation. You now possess the intellectual framework. You understand, on a logical level, that the obstacle is the path. You have accepted that your problems are your curriculum. But there is a wide and treacherous gap between what your mind understands and what your body feels in a moment of crisis. When hardship strikes, your logical mind may say, "This is an opportunity." But your nervous system, your ancient, primitive brain, screams something else. It screams, danger, threat, retreat. You feel it in your body, the tightening in your chest, the sinking in your stomach, the hot flush of fear or shame. This chapter is about closing that gap. It is about moving beyond a mere intellectual understanding and undertaking the hard, necessary work of retraining your most fundamental, gut-level, emotional response to pain. It is not enough to accept hardship. You must learn to welcome it. Your biological programming is not your ally in this endeavor. For thousands of years, pain has been a simple and effective survival signal. The pain of fire means, pull your hand away. The pain of hunger means, go find food. The pain of a predator's presence means, run. This system is brutally effective for immediate physical threats. But you are no longer living in that world. The pains you face now are not physical threats. They are the pains of rejection, of failure, of criticism, of embarrassment. And yet, your ancient brain responds in the exact same way. It screams, retreat, flee, seek the comfort of safety. You are letting a survival mechanism designed for the wilderness sabotage your growth in the modern world. It's not about being a coward, it's about having untrained instincts. Let us observe this untrained instinct in action. Let us watch a student receive a failing grade on a major exam. The moment they see the grade, the biological reaction is instantaneous and overwhelming. A hot flush of shame burns their face. Their stomach drops. Their heart begins to pound. This is the pain signal. And the untrained mind immediately obeys the signal's command. The internal voice spirals into a chorus of retreat. I'm a failure. I'm not smart enough for this. I should just drop this class before I embarrass myself further. The pain has triggered the flight response. The student is a victim of their own biology. Now, let us watch a practitioner. A warrior. They see the exact same failing grade. They feel the exact same initial, biological jolt. The hot flush of shame. The sinking stomach. The pain is identical. But their response is different. Because they have trained for this moment. Instead of allowing the feeling to spiral into a narrative of retreat, their trained internal monologue cuts through the noise. The voice is quiet, it is calm, and it is almost predatory. It says one, single, powerful word. Good. And then it continues. Good. This is the data I needed. This pain is a spotlight, illuminating the precise area of my weakness. My ignorance has been revealed, and now I have an opportunity to replace it with mastery. The path is now clear. The real work, the work that matters, starts right now. Do you see the profound difference? The first student was a slave to their pain. The pain told them to run, and they obeyed. The second student became the master of their pain. They took the exact same signal, and through a deliberate act of will, transformed it from a stop sign into a starting gun. That's the key. This is the discipline you will now forge. It is the discipline of good. It is the most difficult, and most powerful, practice in this entire philosophy. From this day forward, your new, automatic, trained response to any setback, any failure, any hardship, any pain, will be that single word. Your project at work fails? Good. Now you have the opportunity to rebuild it correctly, with the lessons you just paid for in failure. Your workout is brutally, painfully difficult? Good. That is the feeling of your muscles tearing and rebuilding, stronger than before. You face a rejection? Good. It is a chance to build your emotional resilience and detach your self-worth from external approval. You feel fear? Good. You now have a perfect, tailor-made opportunity to practice the virtue of courage. This is not toxic positivity. You are not pretending the pain does not exist. You are not saying, "I'm fine." You are acknowledging the pain. You are looking it directly in the eye. And you are telling it, you are not a threat. You are an invitation. An invitation to engage. An invitation to learn. An invitation to get stronger. You have a choice. You can let the pain signal be your master, or you can become its master. Pain is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal to engage. This is the new code. You must practice it relentlessly. The next time something goes wrong in your day, the next time you feel that familiar sting of disappointment or frustration, you will catch yourself. You will stop the old, weak spiral of complaint and despair. And you will say it, either out loud or in the quiet of your own mind. You will say, "Good." You don't need their permission to decide what the events of your life will mean. Pain is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal to engage. This practice, this immediate, gut-level welcoming of hardship, is the opening move of a true master. It is the discipline that stops the emotional hijack before it can even begin. But it is only the beginning. After you have welcomed the pain, after you have said, "Good," the next, more tactical work begins. You must then consciously and deliberately choose the meaning you will assign to your struggle. You must become the artist who takes the raw, painful, and shapeless material of your suffering and forges it into something useful, something beautiful, something strong. That is the subject of our next chapter. Chapter 5, The Art of the Reframe, How to Choose Your Suffering. Chapter 5, The Art of the Reframe, How to Choose Your Suffering. You have begun the most difficult part of the training. You have learned to face the initial, biological shock of pain and respond with a single, powerful word, "Good." This is the opening move. It is the act of stopping the emotional hijack before it can take control. But what comes next? After you have welcomed the pain, the real work of the intellect begins. It is the work of taking the raw, shapeless, and painful material of your hardship and deliberately forging it into a tool. This is the art of the reframe. And it is the tactical skill that will allow you to transform any setback into a source of strength. You must understand a fundamental truth of your own mind. Nothing that happens to you has any inherent meaning. An event is just an event. The loss of a job is an event. A rejection is an event. A failure is an event. The meaning is not in the event itself. The meaning is in the story that you choose to tell yourself about the event. This story is the frame, and the frame determines everything. The untrained mind, the mind of the amateur, allows its initial, negative emotional reaction to write the story. And that story is almost always a story of victimhood, loss, and despair. This frame, this narrative of failure, then dictates your actions. And it almost always leads to paralysis. The trained mind, the mind of the professional, understands that the first story is just a rough draft, written by the panicked, primitive part of the brain. The professional allows that first draft to exist, and then deliberately, consciously, and ruthlessly, they pick up the pen and rewrite it. It's not about lying to yourself. It's not about pretending a bad thing is a good thing. It's about choosing the most empowering, most useful, most strategic truth available. Let us watch this art in practice. The hardship, a person is fired from their job. This is the event. It is a neutral fact. Now, watch the two stories that can be built around this fact. The first story is the default frame. It is the story of the victim. The internal monologue is, "I was fired. This is a disaster. It is a public declaration of my incompetence. I am a failure. How will I pay my bills? My career is over." This frame, this story, is a cage of despair. The person who lives inside this story will be paralyzed by fear. They will make desperate, reactive decisions. Their suffering is helpless and passive. Now, let us watch the architect, the practitioner, create a new frame. They feel the same initial shock, the same fear. They say, "Good." And then they get to work. They deliberately choose to write a different story. Their new story, their new frame is this: "My position at the company was eliminated. This is not a judgment on my worth, it is a strategic decision by the company. This is a liberation. I am now free from a path that was not my ultimate purpose. This is a rare and valuable opportunity to pause, take inventory of my true skills, and build something that is actually my own. My old career track is over. My true mission is just beginning." The event is identical. The suffering is not. The victim is suffering passively, crushed by the weight of the story they were given. The architect is suffering actively. They have chosen the difficult, challenging, inspiring suffering of building something new over the pathetic, helpless suffering of being a failure. They have chosen their hardship. And in that choice, they have seized power. That's the key. This is the protocol for the reframe. This is the work you will do in the moments after the initial shock. Step 1. Separate the event from the story. Take out a piece of paper. On it, write down only the cold, hard, objective facts of what happened. Strip it of all emotion and all interpretation. I lost my job. My business partner quit. My proposal was rejected. Step 2. Identify the default story. Be honest. Write down the initial, negative, victim-oriented narrative your mind is automatically generating. This means I am a failure. This means I will never succeed. This means I am not good enough. Step 3. Brainstorm alternative stories. You will now become a creative writer. You will generate at least 3 new, more empowering frames for the exact same set of facts. This is a powerful lesson. This is an opportunity to build resilience. This is a necessary ending that is making way for a better beginning. This is a test. Step 4. Choose your canon. From your list of alternative stories, you will deliberately and consciously choose the one that is the most useful and the most empowering. This is your new official narrative. This is your truth. You will repeat this story to yourself, you will write it down, and you will live by it until it completely replaces the old, weak, default story. You have a choice of which story you want to live inside. Do not be defined by your hardship. Be the definer of your hardship. This is the ultimate expression of personal power. To take the worst moments of your life, the moments that would break an ordinary person, and to alchemize them into the very ingredients of your future success. You don't need their permission to decide what your life means. Do not be defined by your hardship. Be the definer of your hardship. This ability to reframe any setback into a strategic advantage is a powerful mental weapon. But a weapon is useless if you do not have the fundamental strength to wield it, especially under repeated fire. To truly become unbreakable, you need more than just a clever mental tactic. You need to be fundamentally tougher. You need to build calluses on your mind. That is your next mission. Chapter 6. Build your calluses, the discipline of exposure. Chapter 6. Build your calluses, the discipline of exposure. You have learned the art of the reframe. You now possess the intellectual tool to take any hardship and choose the meaning you assign to it. This is a powerful cognitive weapon. But a weapon is useless if you do not have the raw, fundamental strength to wield it in the face of real, visceral fear. A brilliant battle plan is worthless in the hands of a soldier who has never endured the stress of a training exercise. This chapter is about that training. It is about moving beyond mental tactics and beginning the hard, physical and psychological work of building your toughness. It is time to build your calluses. Consider the hands of a person who has never done a day of manual labor. They are soft, unmarked. If they pick up a shovel and work for an hour, their hands will blister, tear, and bleed. The pain will force them to stop. Now, consider the hands of a stonemason, a man who has worked with his hands for 20 years. His hands are thick, tough, and covered in calluses. He can do the same work for 10 hours without a second thought. Is the shovel any different? No. The work is identical. The hands have changed. The calluses are not a sign of damage. They are a sign of adaptation. They are a physical manifestation of strength, built through the consistent, repeated application of stress and friction. Your mind, your courage, and your resilience work in the exact same way. Your fears, your anxieties, your insecurities, these are the areas where your mind is soft. And for your entire life, your strategy has been to protect these soft spots. To avoid the situations that cause you friction. This avoidance has kept you from feeling short-term pain, but it has left you permanently, dangerously weak. It's not about being fearless, it's about becoming desensitized to fear through deliberate, disciplined practice. Let us watch this principle in action with a common source of psychological pain, social anxiety. The person with social anxiety fears the friction of social interaction. They fear the awkward silence, the possibility of judgment, the discomfort of small talk. So, they avoid it. They turn down invitations. They stay quiet in meetings. They order their food through an app instead of speaking to a cashier. Each act of avoidance provides a small, temporary hit of relief. But in the long term, their fear grows stronger. Their world shrinks. Their psychological hands remain soft, sensitive, and easily blistered by the slightest social friction. Now, let us watch a practitioner apply the discipline of exposure. They decide to stop protecting their weakness and start building a callus. They create a protocol of gradual, controlled, and non-negotiable exposure to the very thing they fear. In week 1, the mission is simple, but not easy. Make eye contact and give a slight nod to 3 strangers during the day. That's it. It is a small dose of the friction they fear. It is uncomfortable, but manageable. At the end of the week, a thin, almost imperceptible callus has begun to form. In week 2, the protocol escalates. The mission is to say hello or thank you to a cashier or a barista. A tiny, low-stakes interaction. More friction. The callus thickens. In week 3, the mission is to ask one open-ended question. What do you recommend here, to someone in line at a coffee shop? Or, how has your day been, to a colleague? A small, but real, conversation. More friction. Do you see the process? It is the law of progressive overload, applied to the mind. The practitioner is not waiting to feel brave. They are systematically building bravery, rep by rep, exposure by exposure. The fear doesn't magically vanish. But its power to control their behavior is being systematically dismantled. That's the key. What you avoid, controls you. What you confront, you conquer. You must now become a hunter of productive discomfort. You will perform an audit of your own avoidance. What are the things you run from? Difficult conversations. Waking up an hour earlier. Taking a cold shower. Speaking up in a meeting. Negotiating a bill. This list of your fears is not a catalog of your weaknesses. It is your personalized curriculum for building strength. You have a choice. You can continue to live in the ever-shrinking prison of your own comfort zone, where your fears are the warden. Or you can make a deliberate choice to walk toward the friction and expand the territory of your strength. You don't need their permission to confront the things that make you weak. Pick one. Pick the smallest one. And create your own exposure protocol. Commit to a tiny, daily, or weekly dose of the discomfort you have been avoiding. This is the work. This is how you build the calluses that will make you unbreakable in the face of real, unpredictable hardship. What you avoid, controls you. What you confront, you conquer. This process of building calluses, of deliberately exposing yourself to difficulty and fear, will inevitably involve another form of hardship. In your attempts to confront your fears, you will stumble. You will be awkward. You will fail. This is not a sign that the protocol is not working. This is not a reason to retreat back into the cage of comfort. These failures, these moments of falling short, are not the enemy. In fact, they are the most valuable, nutrient-rich, and powerful raw material you will ever have for your growth. It is time to learn how to consume them. That is your next mission. In Chapter 7, use failure as your primary ingredient. Chapter 7, use failure as your primary ingredient. You are now on the path. You are building your calluses. You are deliberately exposing yourself to the friction and discomfort that forge strength. As you walk this path, one thing is an absolute certainty: you will fall. You will stumble. You will fail. For your entire life, you have been taught to fear this moment. You have been conditioned to see failure as a final verdict on your worth. A judgment. An ending. A source of profound and paralyzing shame. This is the single greatest misunderstanding of the entire process of growth. Failure is not the unfortunate byproduct of striving for success. It is the essential, non-negotiable, and most valuable raw material for success. This chapter is about destroying your fear of failure and replacing it with an appetite for it. You will learn to stop seeing failure as a verdict and start seeing it as a resource. You will become a master at metabolizing your mistakes and turning them into fuel. First, we must make a critical distinction. There are 2 types of failure in this world. The first is the failure of inaction. This is the failure to try. The failure to take the risk. The failure born from cowardice and procrastination. This is the only type of failure that is truly shameful, because it produces nothing. No data. No lesson. No growth. The second type of failure is the failure of action. This is the failure that comes from attempting something difficult and falling short. The failure of the warrior. The failure of the builder. This failure is not just acceptable, it is honorable. It is the only way that human beings learn, adapt, and grow. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about choosing to fail in the pursuit of a worthy goal. Your mission is to eliminate the first type of failure from your life completely and to embrace the second type as a master craftsman embraces his raw material. Let us observe this mastery in action. Let us look at an entrepreneur's first business. After years of work, it fails. Catastrophically. The money is gone. The project is dead. The failure is public and undeniable. The untrained mind, the mind of the amateur, is immediately consumed by the poison of shame. They bury the experience. They refuse to talk about it. They try to pretend it never happened. In doing so, they bury the priceless education that the failure contains. And they are doomed to repeat the exact same mistakes in the future. Now, let us watch the professional. They feel the same pain, the same disappointment, but they do not allow the shame to take root. After a brief, prescribed period of grieving the loss, they become a scientist. They take out a blank notebook, and at the top of the page, they write, "Failure Autopsy." They then proceed to dissect the corpse of their dead business with cold, brutal, and emotionless precision. They ask the hard questions. What were my most flawed assumptions about the market? Where, specifically, was my execution weak? What were the critical warning signs that my ego forced me to ignore? What specific skills in marketing, finance, and leadership did I lack? They are relentless. They list every single mistake. This document, this autopsy report, becomes the most valuable asset they own. It is not a monument to their failure. It is the foundational blueprint for their next, inevitable success. They did not just fail. They invested in their own education. That's the key. This is the discipline you will now adopt. You will become a master at conducting your own failure autopsies. Shame is the enemy, because shame prevents this critical analysis. You have a choice. You can let your ego protect you from the pain of looking at your mistakes, and in doing so, sentence yourself to repeat them forever. Or you can have the courage to perform the autopsy and extract the priceless lesson. You don't need their permission to learn from your own life. This is your new protocol for failure. The moment you fall short, you will feel the pain. You will acknowledge it. And then you will get to work. You will ask the questions. What was the flawed assumption? Where was the weak execution? What is the lesson? You will not move on to the next attempt until you have squeezed every drop of data and insight from the last one. Failure is not a verdict. It is raw material. Apply this to everything. The workout you couldn't finish? That's not a failure. That is data, revealing the current limit of your strength. The conversation you handled poorly? That is not a failure. That is data, revealing a weakness in your communication skills. The project that was rejected? That is not a failure. That is data, providing you with invaluable feedback from the market. See every failure as a gift. It is the world giving you a precise, custom-made lesson, designed to make you better. The only true failure is to receive that gift and refuse to open it. Failure is not a verdict. It is raw material. You must become a ravenous consumer of your own mistakes. This is the path to rapid, exponential growth. As you learn to master your own internal failures, you will also become resilient to the projections of failure and criticism from the outside world. The negative words of others, their doubts, their insults, these are just another form of hardship. Another form of raw material. Another weight to be lifted. It is time to learn how to put their negativity on your barbell. That is our work in the next chapter. Chapter 8, Turn Criticism into Your Deadlift. Chapter 8, Turn Criticism into Your Deadlift. You have begun the hard work. You are learning to metabolize your own failures, to extract the lessons and discard the shame. You are taking ownership. But there is another category of hardship that you must now learn to harness. A hardship that you do not create, but that is projected onto you by the world. It is the social pain of criticism, judgment, and insult. For most people, this is the greatest fear of all. The fear of being judged, of being ridiculed, of being disliked. This fear is a prison. It keeps you small. It forces you to sand down your own edges, to water down your own opinions, to conform. It stops you from putting your work out into the world. It stops you from speaking your truth. This chapter is about breaking that fear. It is about teaching you to not just endure criticism, but to actively use it as a source of immense personal strength. You will learn to take the negativity of others and turn it into your workout. You will turn their insults into your deadlift. First, you must understand why these words have so much power over you. Your brain is an ancient survival machine. For thousands of years, being a part of a tribe was the only way to survive. Banishment, ostracism, and a bad reputation were literal death sentences. Criticism and judgment, therefore, trigger the deepest and most primitive alarm bells in your mind. They are a signal of a potential social death. This programming is now a catastrophic liability. A negative comment on the internet is not a lion in the grass. A harsh word from a colleague is not a tribal elder banishing you to the wilderness. Your biological reaction is a complete and total misinterpretation of the threat. It's not about being overly sensitive, it's about having an untrained nervous system. You must retrain your response. You must teach your mind, through deliberate practice, that the opinions of others are not a survival threat. They are just noise. And that noise can be used. Let us watch this principle in action. A creator, an artist, a writer, an entrepreneur, puts a piece of their work out into the world. Something they have poured their soul into. They receive 100 positive comments, but their mind fixates on the one that is brutally negative. It is personal. It is unfair. It is designed to hurt. The untrained response is a biological hijack. The creator feels a surge of anger and defensiveness. They obsess over the comment for hours, their entire day ruined by the words of a complete stranger. They may even get into a long, pointless, and draining argument in the comments section. In this scenario, the critic has won. They have successfully hijacked the creator's emotional state, stolen their focus, and inflicted pain. Now, let us watch the professional. The practitioner. They see the exact same vicious comment. They feel the exact same initial, biological sting of social pain. But their training kicks in. They do not see an attack. They see an opportunity. They say to themselves, good. Then, they apply the reframe. They see the comment not as a verdict on their worth, but as a weight. The critic, in their sad and pathetic attempt to cause harm, has unknowingly walked into their gym and handed them a heavy, 100-pound barbell, for free. And now, the workout begins. The first rep is the discipline of non-reaction. The professional feels the powerful urge to reply, to defend themselves, but they refuse. They let the urge sit there, and they do not act on it. The muscle of emotional control grows stronger. The second rep is the discipline of detachment. They observe their own anger as if it were a passing cloud. They say, there is a feeling of anger here, but they do not become the anger. The muscle of mindfulness grows stronger. The third rep is the discipline of indifference. They consciously choose to make the comment and its author meaningless. They delete it, they block the user, and they immediately return to their work. The muscle of focus grows stronger. The critic, who intended to be an assassin, has accidentally become a free personal trainer. That's the key. This is the doctrine you will now adopt. The doctrine of the barbell. Every piece of negativity you encounter is a weight. A slightly critical remark from a friend? A 10-pound dumbbell. A condescending email from a colleague? A 50-pound plate. A truly nasty, personal, and public insult? That is your new 1-rep max. A chance to see how strong you have truly become. You have a choice. You can let the weight of their words crush you. Or you can get underneath it, brace yourself, and lift. You can use their negativity to make you stronger. You don't need their permission to use their hate as your fuel. Now, we must distinguish. There is a difference between constructive feedback and destructive criticism. Constructive feedback is data. It is a gift from someone who wants to see you improve. You should listen to that with your intellect. Destructive criticism is just noise. It is weight. You do not listen to it. You lift it. Their words are not your reality. They are your workout. Let this be the new frame. The next time someone doubts you, criticizes you, or insults you, your first, trained thought will be, this is an opportunity to train. You will thank them silently, for they are providing the resistance necessary for your growth. Their words are not your reality. They are your workout. As you consistently practice this, as you lift these weights day after day, you will build a level of emotional strength that is almost unheard of. You will become immune to the opinions of others. This is the foundation of true freedom. And you will begin to notice something profound. You are no longer just surviving these attacks. You are not just bouncing back. You are growing stronger because of them. The attacks are making you better. You are moving beyond mere resilience. You are becoming unbreakable. You are becoming antifragile. That is the subject of our next chapter. Chapter 9, Become Unbreakable, Forging an Antifragile Identity. Chapter 9, Become Unbreakable, Forging an Antifragile Identity. You are now armed. You have learned to metabolize your failures and use criticism as a workout. You have learned to see the obstacle as the path. You are building the tools and the toughness to handle the hardships that life will inevitably throw at you. For most of the world, the highest ambition is to be resilient. To be able to take a hit, endure the pain, and bounce back to where you were before. This is a noble goal. But it is not our goal. It is the goal of the survivor, not the warrior. Our goal is something far greater. It is not just to survive the storm. It is to become the one who is strengthened by it. This is the final and most powerful identity you will forge. You will learn to move beyond mere resilience. You will become unbreakable. You will become antifragile. To understand this concept, we must first understand the 3 ways a system responds to stress, shock, and chaos. First, there is the fragile. Imagine a ceramic plate. When When you subject it to stress, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. It cannot recover. It is worse off after the shock. The fragile fears volatility and loves tranquility. This is the mindset of the person who lives in the cage of comfort. Second, there is the resilient. Imagine a plastic plate. When you drop it, it might bend or deform under the stress, but it does not break. It absorbs the hit and, after a moment, it bounces back to its original shape. The resilient endures the shock and returns to its baseline. This is a good, strong mindset. It is what most people strive for. But it is not the ultimate goal. Third, there is the antifragile. This is a system that does not just resist shock, it feeds on it. It does not just survive the stress, it improves because of it. Imagine your own biological immune system. When it is exposed to a virus, a stressor, it doesn't just fight it off and return to normal. It learns from the attacker. It creates antibodies. It becomes stronger, smarter, and better prepared for the next, more difficult fight. The very thing that was meant to harm it, made it more powerful. This is your new identity. You are not a ceramic plate to be protected from the world. You are not a plastic plate that simply endures. You are a living, breathing immune system for hardship. You are the thing that feeds on chaos. Let us see this mindset in action. The hardship, a person loses their job. The resilient person feels the shock. They endure the stress of unemployment. And, through hard work, they eventually bounce back. They find a new job that is similar to their old one. They have returned to their baseline. This is a victory. The antifragile person feels the same shock. But they see it as a stimulus. The shock of being fired is a powerful injection of energy into their system. They use that energy as a catalyst. They do not just look for a new job. They perform an autopsy on their old career. They identify the skills they were lacking. They use their newfound time to obsessively learn a new, more valuable skill: coding, sales, public speaking. They use the setback to evolve. They do not bounce back to their old job. They bounce forward into a new, stronger, and more sovereign career path, perhaps even starting their own business. The thing that broke them was the very thing that made them. That's the key. It's not about bouncing back, it's about building back stronger. This is the question you must now ask in the face of every single setback. After you have welcomed the pain, after you have reframed the narrative, you must ask the anti-fragile question: how can I use the energy of this failure to become not just what I was before, but demonstrably better than I was before? You have a choice. When the world knocks you down, you can choose to get back up to the same spot you were before. Or you can choose to use the ground as a platform to bounce to a higher level. You don't need their permission to use your setbacks as a launching pad. This is the ultimate alchemy. A setback is no longer a setback, it is a stimulus for evolution. A failure is no longer an ending, it is a forced upgrade. A crisis is no longer a threat, it is a perfectly designed growth opportunity. Do not just survive the storm. Be the one who is built by it. Burn this into your mind. This is your new identity. You are the person who gets stronger when the world gets harder. You are the one who thrives in chaos because chaos is the only thing that provides the necessary stimulus for you to grow. You will no longer pray for an easy life. An easy life would be a curse. It would be a sentence of stagnation. You will instead be grateful for a hard life, for it is the only life that can forge the unbreakable person you wish to become. Do not just survive the storm. Be the one who is built by it. This is the pinnacle of a reactive philosophy. To be able to take any random, unexpected hit the world can throw at you and become better for it. It is the mindset of the unbreakable. But there is one final level of mastery. A level beyond even this. The ultimate stage is to move from a reactive stance to a proactive one. It is to stop waiting for the world to provide you with the struggles you need to grow. It is to go out and actively hunt them down. That is your final mission. That is the philosophy of a life lived at the absolute peak of human potential. That is our work in Chapter 10, Seek the Struggle, a Life of Deliberate Growth. Chapter 10, Seek the Struggle, a Life of Deliberate Growth. You have reached the peak. You have learned to see the obstacle as the path. You have learned to welcome pain. You have forged an unbreakable, anti-fragile identity that grows stronger from the chaos the world throws at you. You have mastered the art of harnessing hardship. This is the pinnacle of a reactive philosophy. It is the highest level of defense. But there is one final, ultimate stage of this transformation. A stage that moves you from the perfect defense to a relentless offense. The final stage is to stop waiting for the storm to find you, and to begin sailing out into it, intentionally. The ultimate mastery is not to harness the struggle that life gives you, but to actively seek the struggle that you need. There is a hidden danger in strength. The greatest threat to a strong person is not a great challenge, it is the absence of one. A long period of peace, of calm, of comfort, this is where the calluses soften. This is where the muscle of resilience begins to atrophy. This is where the unbreakable begins to rust. The human soul is not designed for a life of perpetual ease. It is designed to solve problems, to overcome obstacles, to strive and to grow. A life without a worthy struggle is not a life of peace. It is a life of stagnation. It's not about being reckless, it's about refusing to rust. Let us observe this philosophy in the life of a true master. The successful entrepreneur. Imagine a woman who has spent a decade of her life building a successful company. She has endured the failures, the stress, the sleepless nights. She has won. The business is now profitable, stable, and runs mostly without her. She could now choose to reap the rewards. She could choose the comfortable life she has earned. This is the dream that almost everyone is chasing. But she is not like everyone. She understands that this comfort is a cage. A beautiful, gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless. She knows that all growth, all life, exists only at the edge of her current abilities. And so, she makes a radical, terrifying choice. She hires a CEO to run her successful company. And she starts again. At zero. She walks away from the empire she built and enters a completely new industry. An industry she knows nothing about. She deliberately and consciously chooses to become a beginner again. Why? Not for more money. Not for more fame. She does it for the struggle. She is actively hunting for the feeling of being incompetent again. She is seeking the inevitable failures, the humbling lessons, the gut-wrenching uncertainty of a new frontier. She is doing this because she knows, with absolute certainty, that the next version of herself, the stronger, smarter, more capable version, is hiding on the other side of that struggle. That's the key. She is not a victim of hardship. She is a hunter of it. This is the doctrine of the worthy struggle. This is the life philosophy you will now adopt. Your new mission is to periodically and intentionally take on challenges that are just beyond your current horizon. This does not have to be a new business. It can be a physical challenge, signing up for a marathon when you can barely run a mile. It can be an intellectual challenge, committing to learn a difficult new language or a musical instrument. It can be an emotional challenge, taking on a leadership role that terrifies you, or finally having that difficult conversation you have been avoiding for years. The point is not necessarily to succeed in the conventional sense. The point is the struggle itself. The struggle is the prize. Because the struggle is the only thing that guarantees growth. You are deliberately applying the stress that will force your own evolution. You have a choice. You can reach a certain level of success and build a fortress of comfort around it, and you can slowly and quietly decay inside those walls. Or you can live on the frontier of your own potential, where the struggle is a constant companion, but so is the exhilarating feeling of perpetual growth. You don't need their permission to choose a harder, more meaningful, and more alive path. This is the final reframe. Hardship is not something to be harnessed. It is something to be hunted. And so, we complete the journey. You began this audiobook believing that a good life was a comfortable life. You learned that comfort is a cage. You learned that the obstacles in your life were not in your way, they were your way. You learned to welcome pain, to metabolize failure, to use criticism as a workout. You learned to be antifragile. And now, finally, you have learned to seek the struggle itself. You have completed the transformation, from the person who fears hardship to the person who requires it. This is the ultimate secret. The purpose of life is not to arrive at a safe harbor. It is to build a vessel strong enough to navigate any storm, and to have the courage to sail it into the heart of the unknown. A good life is not an easy one. It is a life of worthy struggle. You came here believing a lie. You believed that pain was your enemy. You saw obstacles as roadblocks. You wished for an easier life. You leave here knowing the truth. You know that comfort is a cage that keeps you small. You know that pain is not a punishment, but a signal that you are growing. You know that every failure is raw material, every insult is a workout, and every single obstacle is not in your way, it is your only way forward. You have learned to stop asking for a lighter burden, and have started to build a stronger back. This is the end of the lesson, but it is the beginning of your real training. Look at the single biggest challenge in your life right now. The problem you have been running from, the pain you have been avoiding. Look at it. That is not your curse. That is not your roadblock. That is your curriculum. That is your forge. Your transformation does not start tomorrow. It starts now. Go toward the struggle.